the number one belief that is holding back women entrepreneurs from really being successful?
One of them is worthiness. Who am I to do this? Who am I to deserve all that money? Or who am I to have people listen to me? If you have a message, you're here to share it because we all are individual expressions of spirit. We have this inner guidance telling us what it is that it wants to share with the world. When we can begin to open our minds up to that belief, and if we believe that what we have to say is important, then the world will respond in kind.
Passion, inspiration, determination. Are you ready to jump into a better life? Welcome to our program, Jump Into It.
Welcome to Jump Into It, the podcast that helps women entrepreneurs prosper with purpose. And today's episode is a powerful one. If you've ever felt held back by doubt, money blocks, or the fear of stepping into your next level, you're going to want to lean in. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Mary Farias. Mary is the author, publisher, and self-development consultant who supports entrepreneurs in aligning their mindset and beliefs with the vision they're working toward. She is the founder of Magnet Mind Development and Iris Blue Publishing, and a certified Proctor Gallagher consultant with the focus on self-image scripting, money mindset, and helping individuals develop their own independent economic paths. Through her coaching, courses, and publishing work, Mary helps purpose-driven entrepreneurs think more intentionally, live more intentionally, and tap into their broader potential. Mary, welcome to Jump Into It. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Now, Mary, you have launched a number of businesses. Congratulations as an entrepreneur. So that's going to be one of my first questions is tell us about the businesses you've launched.
Sure. Yeah, I've done quite a few. So I was the daughter of an entrepreneur. My family had a greenhouse. And so I thought that that was the way to go is start your own business. I was in politics for a while. I was a lobbyist and I did that for a little bit. And then I just really decided that I wanted to be a full-time writer. What I did was I wrote some books and I decided that I wanted to try my hand in publishing them. And so this was back in 2010 when print on demand didn't exist really yet. And so I had to create this publishing company and go to a printer and do all the things, learn how to typeset and do all those things. So publishing company was my first one. And then I have a background in gymnastics and I was a high-level gymnast for many, many years. And
Wow.
when our daughter was born in 2010, I looked at my husband and I said, where's she going to do gymnastics? So we ended up in 2012 opening a gymnastics center here in Tucson, Arizona. And so we ran that for 9 years. And then in that time, at the end of that time, I actually became a Proctor Gallagher consultant as well with Bob Proctor. We hit COVID and we ended up deciding to close our gym. And then I went full into Magnet Mind Development. So 3 businesses under my belt. So it's a lot of fun. One is the publishing company, which is both kind of online and, well, face-to-face as well. But the gym, of course, was a brick and mortar. And now this one is just about fully online. So I've run the gambit.
Wow. Wow. Did you learn from one business to another to be able to continue to grow and to build your skills as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. So the publishing company really got my feet wet and kind of understanding what it meant to have your own business, all the ins and outs and all the stuff you don't really want to do and don't think about that you have to do. Learned about that. The brick and mortar was actually quite fun in that we really interacted with the people I was coaching, my husband did the front desk work, but it was very intensive in the sense that I was tied to it. I was on my way to the gym one day and I just was at a stoplight and I was so frustrated and I felt trapped and I just said, I want a business where I can do from anywhere and I can do anything I want and I can make my own schedule. And I just decided right then and there that that's what I wanted to do. And that created the impetus for Magnet Mind Development to take off to where it is now.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, COVID had its downfalls or drawbacks, but it really moved us into the virtual space and building relationships and businesses virtually. And like Mary, like you said, we have really a lot of businesses have prospered from that change in behavior and attitude towards that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now you mentioned something about like Procter Gallagher Consultant.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of listeners are not sure what that is, and I'm not so sure what that is. Can you explain a little bit more?
Sure. Bob Proctor was one of the teachers in the movie The Secret. I don't know if you heard of the movie The
Oh,
Secret.
yes, yes.
Yeah, he was in that movie and he was talking about obviously the law of attraction. And that's where I first came across him. And when I did, I was just flabbergasted. I'm like, this is what I've been looking for because as a kid growing up in the sport of gymnastics, I was what Bob called an unconscious competent. I was doing these things and not knowing that I was doing them. Once I found Bob, I realized, I go, oh, I can teach this because I know how to do it, right? And so it really spoke to me. And so I signed up to be a consultant. I was thinking in the world of gymnastics is where I was going to really start it. But then COVID happened and I just launched into helping people create their own economies and improve their self-image and become the person who has the goal that they want to live. And it's just really opened up so many new opportunities. It's so much fun.
Wow. It's interesting because I know a lot of people take courses and they don't necessarily walk the talk. Did it take you a long time to master what, like you were saying that you were unconsciously already doing it, but once you became conscious, did it take that much longer to truly feel a master of the skills of what he was teaching?
Yeah, absolutely. You're never a master, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's always constant learning and applying it to the something new. And he's such a proponent of setting big, huge goals. And so there's always something to learn and to get better at. And to your point, you're right. There are so many courses out there and so many different ways to do things, but the key is belief. And if you don't believe it, it can't happen. It won't happen. And that's just by universal law. It's not able to manifest if you don't truly believe it, because what we believe is what we see. And so that is the biggest shift that people need to make is understand that it's not the process, it's not the steps that this particular coach says, it's the person doing the work has to shift their beliefs. And if that can't happen, neither can the goal.
That's so true. So, is that feed into this idea of a self-image scripting that you refer to in on your website and your profile?
Yeah, absolutely. So self-image scripting is something that Bob teaches and I teach my clients. And here's one of the places where I fell short for a little while was actually taking the time to write it out and decide what it is that I want and record it and listen to it and read it every day. He tells us to do all those things, and I was slow to the pickup on that one. But once I started actually doing it, my life changed completely. And all of a sudden, I was living my script. I was living it because I created it. I created her, the woman in the script, and then I began living it. And it's really as simple as that. But the idea behind the self-image scripting is so integral to people's growth because when we repeat things and we tell ourselves the same thing and we might not believe it for a while, but then we
Right.
we repeat it, our subconscious mind understands it and goes, "Oh, that's who I am. Oh, this is where I'm going." And all of a sudden, things happen. I love telling the story that when I first started all of this, I didn't have any horses, and now I've got lots of horses in my life. And so it's so much fun that's my metric. How many horses does
Yeah.
Mary have around her at the moment? So it's so much fun to play with it and to work with this script. And people are reluctant to go into it. I don't know if it's because they don't believe it could happen necessarily, or it seems like a waste of time and they feel like they have to act, act, act. But what I have found is that the more that we spend time creating that image of who we want to be, and we spend time repeating that image to ourselves, the more opportunities come into our life to make it happen. And then the actions we take actually matter and they bring us towards our goal and towards the life that we truly want.
Interesting. So this sounds a lot, and you can challenge me on this, a lot like repetitive affirmations.
Well, yeah, that's a huge part of it. Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill
Okay.
talks about autosuggestion, and that's just self-suggestion. It's telling yourself what you want to be and who you want to be. Because if you think about it, the dominating thoughts in our mind, whether they're positive or negative, are the things that show up in our life. And so the words that we speak to ourselves are the most poignant to ourselves. And so if we're constantly telling ourselves how we're falling short and that we'll never make it and that we don't have enough money and that we need a new job to pay all the bills, and if we can't, then we're always going to find reasons why we can't. But if we shift
Yeah.
that inner dialogue for ourselves, what we do is shift to I can. And that's what the scripting does because it gives us a place to go. So instead of constantly making up new positive affirmations or what have you, what it does is it brings us to centralized vision and an explanation of that and a characterization of who we are. And as we repeat that to ourselves, like I am calm, for instance, is one of the pieces in mine. And then I explain all the reasons why I'm calm and how I express that in my personality. And when I repeat that to myself, anything that comes up in the world around me, I go, oh, no, 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 I'm calm. And then I handle it
Mm.
in that calm manner or confidence or successful, whatever affirmations just are piled into that self-image script. But the
Yeah.
more that we tell ourselves, this is who I am, the more that we show up like that.
Now, because we've had a number of guests that have presented similar ideas and concepts and on shifting the mindset, and I wanted to share a couple of them. One of them is believability. So if you don't believe something, no matter how many times you say it, there's a part of you that's going, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, I'd like to believe it, but that's not true. And one is that you have to have at least over, like, you don't have to have 100% belief that that's going to happen, but you got to have over the balance of 50% initially to believe that before you start telling yourself that. Because if you don't, if you're starting from really not believing it, the affirmations and your subconscious going, that's not true, that's not true, and then it doesn't manifest. That's one thought. The other thought around that is instead of saying the affirmation, I don't know if you've heard about this, is kind of a new trend, is asking the questions. Why am I being so successful? And then the answers come to you, and then you fulfill it. Have you heard of that approach?
Absolutely. So let me
Yeah.
let me go to the believability piece. And you're so
Okay.
right, because
Yeah.
first and foremost, you need to study. You need to learn why these things work in the first place. And I mentioned earlier universal laws. There are seven of them, and there are offshoots of those main seven. But at the same time, if we constantly are studying, and I suggest if you don't have a personal development routine, then start studying 5 minutes a day. And you can start with Think and Grow Rich, something like that. And I teach Bob Proctor's book, You Were Born Rich, every week. And so what you can do is start just with 5 minutes a day. It's better than nothing, of understanding and then starting to apply what you're learning. And we gather information all the time, don't we? We read the books and we just pile them up, and people say that they've been studying self-development for 20 years, but nothing's happened. Well,
Right.
you have to start applying. And so the belief comes with the application. So as you study and then begin applying what you're learning in the book to your life and just trying it out, the belief begins to grow. And so the second piece of what you're saying is that, yes, the questions, what they do is lend to that belief, because it, with the questions, it's more light. It's more, I wonder why that's happening, or I wonder how this is going to happen, or I imagine this. I think, ooh, this could happen, or that could happen. And then you just start using your imagination in a different way. And that opens up those floodgates. And then all of a sudden that lends to more belief. And then you're going, oh, well, that could happen. Something like that could happen. Or somebody just might show up on my doorstep. And what we tell our subconscious mind in that hopeful framework is really important, because that lends to that belief. So yes, I wholeheartedly would believe with the asking questions. If it's hard for somebody to stand there and just start saying affirmations about it.
And go, no, yes, I want to believe it, but I can't, right?
Mhm.
So that lends it to another question. What is the number one belief that is holding back women entrepreneurs from really being successful?
Well, I think there are a few of them, but one of them is worthiness. Who am
Mm.
I to do this? Who am I to deserve all that money? Or who am I to have people listen to me? That's a big one. And I'm
Yeah.
here to say that if you have a message, you're here to share it, because we all are individual expressions of spirit. We really are. And we have this inner guidance telling us what it is that it wants to share with the world. And our body is that way to share it. So when we can begin to open our minds up to that belief, and that's a big belief, a big belief shift for a lot of people to understand, oh, I am, I matter. What I say actually is important. And if we believe that what we have to say is important, then the world will respond in kind.
That's true. That's true. I'm not enough is what opens our vulnerability to buy things we don't need, get into toxic relationships,
Yeah. Yeah.
and be stuck in jobs that don't serve us. So that's a big mind shift. So thanks for sharing that. That I think is right, spot on. So you do a lot of work with the money mindset. What's the biggest myth women have about money that holds them back? Is it still I'm not enough, or is there something more?
I think that the biggest shift that people need to make when it comes to money is that money comes from a job, or money comes from effort. Money comes from a certain action. And really, when you open up your mind and understand the laws, you understand that the world is full of abundance, and money doesn't come from a specific place. It comes through that place to us. So what I mean by that is, just because I have a job doesn't mean that that salary is the cap of anything that I can earn. If there's a law of cause and effect, and under that is the law of compensation. And so the amount of service I provide is the reflection of the amount of compensation I receive, whether it's from my job or from other people or from a side hustle or whatever it might be, or just somebody gifting money. It doesn't have to come from work. And I think that the misnomer is that work equals money. And I want to say that Gabriella, before we started, we were talking about love what you do. And you
Mhm.
don't have to get to a certain level before you can share the love of what you do. And the more that you share the love of what you do, the more love will come in. And that also comes in the form of compensation monetarily. It's all energy. So when we understand that money isn't a thing, it's energy, then all of a sudden we can open that flow and it's like it just keeps coming in.
Well, there's also the myth too of you exchange time for money.
Yes.
And that's not always the case. I mean, there's passive income, there's so many different ways of accumulating wealth and prosperity and abundance in your life that is not exchanging time for money.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge proponent of that. I help people create their own economies, and I'm an example of it. When I sat in my car going, I don't want to be tied down to this job, felt like I wanted that freedom, right? And so what I did when I started Magnet Mind Development was I put parameters on it. I said Tuesday through Thursday are the days that I'm going to schedule all of my calls, and I'm going to keep Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday open, and I can schedule something if I want, but that's not going to be the bulk of my work with clients. And so 3 days a week for much more prosperity than there was with a gym where I was working definitely 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week. And like you said about passive income, yeah, publish a book. You get paid when you're sleeping. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. Amazon, another purchase.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit more? Because that's a really interesting thing that you brought up is this economic path that you take on. So what is that? Like if how do you explain it? How does somebody get on board with it?
Yeah. So I have realized that throughout this entire time that I've been an entrepreneur, I looked at my husband one day, and this was a few years ago. I just looked at him, I said, we make up our own jobs. I mean, that's what we do. He has his own
That's
business also. And it's like, we make them up. We just do stuff and then we get money. It's nice. And so what happened is that I realized that as a book publisher and a writer, and I was an exam developer for part-time for the American Board of Radiology. And what I did was organize timelines. And I had a deadline and then I worked backwards and I said, this is all the stuff that needs to get done in order for this to happen on this date. And I realized when I was working with clients, and especially in Magnet Mind Development, was they didn't do that step. They set the goal and then they're like, now what? Right? And so they needed the plan. And when we create this economy, we look for talents, we look for love, we look for ability, we look for experience, and we kind of create what it is like a central hub. What's a central hub of your economy, right? And someone's might be, well, mine's going to be this book. And as this book, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to publish it. And then I'm going to create a course off of it. And then I'm going to create a second book. And then I'm going to become a speaker. And all these things could be an offshoot of that one book. Or gymnastics could be the center hub of someone's economy, like it was for mine. And so I had the gym, and then I had the books, and then I had judging, and then I had choreography, and then I had all sorts of different offshoots from that hub. And when people see that, they go, oh, I have a lot more going for me than I realized. And then what I do for them, and I help them create a plan. So get one plate spinning. We want multiple sources of income. Get one plate spinning, let it get going. And then what's the next plate that we start spinning? And we work on that one and keep the first one going and just keep building on it from there. And people are loving it. They're just like, oh, well, this makes it more sense. I can do this. And I actually am starting, and the first week of every month, I'm going to put on a Create Your Own Economy 5-day challenge. So that's just going to be something I help people with. And if they want to go further with me, they can, but it'll help them understand what needs to happen, what their hub is, their genius zone, as it were, and they can start building from there.
Okay, so it's really developing multiple revenue streams. And sometimes they're attached to one another, sometimes they're not attached to one another.
Yeah.
To your point, sometimes you come up with one idea, but it doesn't generate the revenue, but the offshoots of that idea do.
Yeah.
So you see it a lot of times in business is that reciprocity. So I give you something for free, and then we build that relationship. And then from there, we find a way to monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you have a different terminology for it, but I think that sounds like it's very much the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that I really learned going from brick and mortar to the online world is that did you know that people are the same, whether they're in the brick and mortar world or in the online world, and relationships are built the same way? And so when we actually get out and speak to people and interact with one another and approach conversations with curiosity, we begin to build those types of reciprocity relationships that you're talking about. And people are kind of reluctant to start doing that. And I kind of help them.
Well, that's good because in the online world, there's more opportunity for deception because you don't physically know where they live. You can't knock on the door and say, hey, that. So, and you can geographically be anywhere. And with AI, I think there's going to be more of that. What's reality? What's not? So, I mean, we're entering a very different another stage with AI and being introduced into how we relate. And some people are going to want to marry their AI assistant, right? So they're going to have a better relationship.
Why can't you be more like that?
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. We're getting off topic. Okay, so you say every entrepreneur has infinite potential. What keeps most people from accessing it? Is that we talked about the belief system, not feeling enough. We talked about multiple revenue streams or your economy path. Infinite potential. I mean, everybody I think has inborn gifts that make us special, but we don't always become aware what those gifts are or wake up to them to be and then take it to the next level. How do you monetize those gifts? So when you talk about infinite potential, what are you referring to?
Good question. And I love it because it's the crux of everything. And when I tell people they have infinite the potential, they're like, okay. And what that okay comes from their what Bob calls paradigms, right? Bob Proctor calls them paradigms, but really what it is our programming in our subconscious mind. It's our conditioning. And so each of us was brought up in some sort of environment with preconceived notions of what reality is. People are good, people are bad, right? Religion is a big piece, or religion is not a piece of your life. There are different teachers say do this, teachers say you're bad. Some teachers tell you you're a good student, some teachers call you a bad student, and that sticks with you. One thing that stuck with me when I was 12, I came home from school one day and I made a milkshake. And she said, that's going to catch up to you one day. And she was on a diet every day of her life, as far as I knew. And so all of a sudden, from that day forward, as a gymnast, I counted every fat gram, every calorie, everything until I was 32. That was programming that was instilled in me. So we all have that programming that's instilled in us. It could be just from a comment like my mom's. She didn't mean anything by it. She just said it, right? And she didn't intend for any of that to go on. She just wanted me to watch.
But that was her programming, right? That was
That was
her
her.
programming that she downloaded into you.
Yeah,
That may
exactly.
have been programming from her mother that got downloaded into her.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what happens. And that's how we absorb this programming. It's downloaded into us. But once we understand, oh, I can change it, then it's our responsibility to change it. So we begin to learn how to change it. And that's what I help people do is learn how to change that programming, identify it and change it. And that's really the crux of it because like we were talking about earlier, if you don't believe it, it can't happen. Right. And so if you have this belief that I had a belief that this was my body and this is what I didn't know what everyone says, well, just pick your ideal weight and then just be it. And I was like, I can't. I'm a gymnast. I have big, strong muscles. I can't ever be that weight or whatever it is, whatever is holding you back, that can change. And it's true. I've done it. And it's pretty amazing once you understand how to change that belief system, those paradigms, the conditioning, how we can open up more potential. And so the potential, the reason why we have infinite potential is because we all are individual expressions of spirit. We all are creators. We all have that infinite potential running through us. We have infinite intelligence running through us. So I want you to think about how can you think? There's this power flowing to and through us, and it gives us the ability to think. And so we can choose what thoughts we make of that power. And that is infinite potential, because what happens is our thoughts become things. So whether I believe that I can or I believe that I can't, I'm right. So if I take that power that's always flowing to and through me, and it's manifested in thought, and I'm thinking, I get to choose. What am I going to do with this power right now? What am I going to choose to do with this thought? I can choose to see something good, or I can choose to see something bad. I can choose happy. I can choose depressed. I can choose all sorts of different polarities of it all. And that's part of the understanding of the laws that I was talking about earlier. And when we can really harness that ability to choose the thoughts we think in any given moment, then we can do anything.
So that's really powerful. And because we operate a lot on our unconscious level where that programming lives. And until we can bring it to this, and some of that programming is not bad programming.
No, some is good. We want
right?
some of
Some of
it.
that programming is really serving us,
Mhm.
making us more efficient and eliminating a lot of that thought process. We just automatically go where we need to go.
Yeah.
But there's all that junk, though, or the programming that is not supporting us, or once did and now needs to retire and be replaced by a new type of programming.
Yeah.
And so that making those shifts, first, I see that you have to be aware of what that programming is, which ones are detrimental for you and which ones aren't. And to my understanding, what you're saying is that you need that programming comes through as God comes through, or the universe comes through, providing us thoughts and directions, but also that programming comes through as thoughts and directions. And how do you discern between the two? And then what do you take action on, and what do you kind of like? I had this terrible thought, but it just went through. I didn't add any energy to it. I didn't empower it. I just watched it go by.
Yeah.
So, right, you know what I'm saying, right?
Mm.
So there's thoughts there that go, ooh, that's a good thought. That's going to take me anywhere where I want it to go. Just walk away, just float away from my conscious mind and move along. So how do you like? You bring up some really interesting paradigms around how do we treat thought? Where does thought come from? And how do you discern what's a good, healthy thought that you would take action on? And what do you do with the bad thoughts?
Yeah, good questions. So our feelings are our ability to discern the vibration we're in. So there's this law of vibration. That's one of the laws. And so if we are vibrating at a higher rate, we feel better. So if we're feeling good, and if we're feeling happy, and we're feeling joyful or excited, then that means we're on a higher vibration. And that means that we are in more alignment with the spirit that's within us, right? And so when I'm with horses, I love it, and I'm happy, and they ground me, and I recharge, and it's just the best thing. But if you're feeling negatively, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling down, then you're emotionally involved with a bad idea, right? It's not, it's a lower frequency thought. It's not moving you in the direction of a happy day or happy life or happy week, whatever it is. So doing your taxes, yeehaw, I don't want to do that. I'd rather be with a horse. So there's
Just finished them. Just finished them this weekend.
right.
So yeah,
So
okay.
there's that you can feel the disparity between those things. And so feeling is just a word we invented to describe the vibration, the frequency we're on.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when we are to answer your question, I believe that we need to have a vision, a goal of, you can call it a vision or a goal or a desire, something more that we want to look forward to achieve. And when we think of that big goal, we could either think, oh, I can't do that. And that's definitely not in line with spirit. Wallace D. Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says desire is the unexpressed possibility seeking expression through us. And so when we desire something, that spirit's saying, go there, do this, do that. And it's always going to tell us how to get there. Spirit's never going to say, you're not cut out for it. You're never going to make it. That's all our conditioning. So if you're going to listen to something, listen to the thing that says, hey, you could do it. Let's go there. Let's try this. And if you're not going to listen to something, don't listen to the, you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, Mary, you said it real quick, is that having the right mindset will get us to the better decisions. Because if you are negative or down or depressed or whatever, it's not the time to make major decisions and
Oh,
shifts in
no,
your life.
that's so true. Yeah, I agree with that. The decision will be there tomorrow. Don't act on it yet.
Yeah. So don't go shopping in a bad mood. Getting big purchases when you're in a bad mood. Okay. Well, we're wrapping up soon. So I wanted to say, what kind of advice would you give women entrepreneurs wanting to step into entrepreneurship today?
Go for it and just paint a vision of what it is that you want and then start working towards it. That's really what it comes down to. And Earl Nightingale says that the success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's not getting there, it's getting towards it, working towards it, going towards it every single day. And if we are consistent in working towards what it is that we want, just taking a step, an action step, picking up the phone, it's not necessarily work, right? Maybe you want to sell your house. Well, guess what? You need to find a real estate agent. And so you have to pick up the phone. It's not necessarily work, it's just what you have to do. So if you start in the direction of your goal starts moving towards you. And all the circumstances, the opportunities, the resources will show up. And I'll use this as an example. When we decided to open our gym in 2012, we had no business opening a gym because we had no money to open a gym. And we were a new business, and we were told by multiple brokers that landlords wouldn't rent to new businesses, and we needed a pretty big location. And so I just said, I don't care what they say, and I'm going to try it. And all of a sudden, we found the place. We talked to the landlord. They said yes. Money came from weird places. We're like, oh. So as soon as you make a decision to go for it, the stuff has an opportunity to find you. But if you don't make a decision to do something, there's no reason for it to show up. So don't sit there and
Yeah.
wait. Just start.
Great advice. Great advice. And just in closing, how would you define prospering with purpose and what steps can women take to truly achieve it? And I think
Pros
you've answered the second part, but if you can answer the first, how do you define prospering with purpose?
Well, I think that what we need to do is listen from within and listen to those desires that we truly have. What do we really want? And that becomes our purpose. That becomes, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to help. This is who I want to serve. This is how I want to do it. And then start in that way. And when we can do that, the energy behind what we're doing it's unstoppable because we are all of a sudden on purpose, and then we can't not prosper, right? It has to come in. We're opening the doorway.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's the law of the universe. That's nature happening at its purest.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us and Jump Into It, Mary. Before we wrap up, where can listeners go to learn about your coaching workshops, your books, and any of the other work you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. Facebook, you can find me, Mary Farias. I'm the little blue approved person, Mary Farias. And then magnetminddevelopment.com is my coaching company. So yeah, you can find me there.
Thank you again. Thank you, Mary. It's really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. On our next show, we'll have another fabulous guest whose journey is sure to inspire you. You can listen to our Jump Into It podcast on your favorite platform. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, to name a few. With the courage and clarity to bring your ideas to life, get ready to jump into it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. At Jump Into It, we empower business owners, marketers, and entrepreneurs to turn their dreams into reality. Want to supercharge your marketing efforts? Grab Jump Into It Breakthrough Marketing Guide, now available on Amazon. Uncover how to stop wasting time and money and create effective marketing strategies that deliver results with no more guesswork. Ready to take it further? Join our expert-led training at 360integralmarketing.com and get practical tools you can use right away. Don't miss out. Tune in to our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple TV for exclusive insights. Stay ahead of the game, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. With the courage and knowledge to bring your ideas to life, get ready to jump into it.